Welcome to the IME Community Podcast, where self-love is your superpower to achieve your weight and life goals and make your mark in the world. Your host is Dr. Carla, activist, MD. If you're a teen who's looking to revolutionize your health and can't wait to follow your dreams, welcome to the IME Community.
Dr. Carla. Hope you're having a good day. I am talking about something pretty serious today. I'm talking about weight-based victimization. By the way, welcome to the podcast, the YouTube video. Make sure that you listen to this one and then you share it with everyone you know, because this is a really important topic. So, talking about weight-based victimization in a different way than maybe you think. So, weight bullying, we all know, is pervasive. Everyone is doing it. It seems like there's research studies. I've written about them and linked them in some of my Kevin MD articles, in some of my blogs, talking about weight-based victimization in children and teens, the effects, how many have reported it in really even like large-scale studies, and who's doing it. So parents weight bully, friends and peers, and that's the number one. Teachers weight bully, doctors weight bully. So we know that the harms are, and especially now during COVID, as teens are in a mental health crisis, that's just layering on another added risk and a lot of scary stuff. You know, there's mental health issues, there's social phobias. You don't want to go to school. Why would you want to go to school if you're being bullied there? There's so many, health effects, risk of eating disorders that can be triggered due to weight bullying, or weight-based victimization is kind of the more scientific term for it. So I knew going into it, like, it's one thing to read a study, and I took this journal called Childhood Obesity and read studies that have been showing that parents are concerned about weight bullying in their teens. They see it as actually the number one health issue that they're worried about and concerned about for their children and for their teens. And this is based on studies that I was reviewing last night from back to like 2012, 2013, 2011. So this is not a new thing. And so sometimes what happens is when we read these studies and then they have the conclusions, all great, all super helpful, calling it out, having the data, we need data, but we need the shared stories, we need the shared experiences, and those journals, the research leaves all of that out, okay? So that's why I really like being on social media platforms, because we can get the shared experience, and I learn so much, and I learn more about the patient experience than I ever did in my almost 20 years of addressing childhood obesity, being in a clinic, taking care of patients, working with families, going through my own weight loss journey, going through my own, weight bullying or people's entitlement and obsession about other people's bodies. And it's their, obsession, their fat phobia based on their pursuit of thin privilege and their, internalized biases and fears that they're projecting onto you and dehumanizing you. Again, like every time I do, and I write a lot about bullying, every time I write about it, I never get in the head of the bully. Because it doesn't really matter where they're coming from, because we're not going to convince them, let them be wrong about you, but we're going to set firm boundaries. We're not going to spend our time getting in their head. Nobody knows and nobody's really interested. We're not going to make excuses for them. And we're going to move on, okay? It's not okay. Bullying is unacceptable. Weight-based victimization is unacceptable. So until I started TikTok, which I started over a year ago when I launched my website for IME Community, make sure you check it out. I'm doing a lot of amazing stuff for parents. I'm going to help you all, and check out my blogs. There's some good ones on there about bullying, setting boundaries, and bully bans. But until I started TikTok, I had really no clue like how absolutely toxic and abusive the parents' weight bullying was. And it seemed to be irregardless of the child or the teen's weight. And even there was one where a young woman who she recorded her parents' conversation. I mean, these are some really messed up people, calling her obese and my God, and she was just like tears streaming down her face, and it just like, I mean, it just ignites something in you. I just can't imagine as a parent doing that to my child. But I also can't imagine like being stuck in that, because no matter what, like you can't just easily say, okay, let go of the toxic parents, especially if you're still in their home. And so children, teens feel, you're kind of helpless and hopeless. And it takes an effect, and it's trauma. And if you've read about adverse childhood experiences or ACEs, those things add up over time, and it changes like our DNA. And so it's really important for us to recognize it and call it out. Okay, so then I learned that parents weight bully. Then the other day I did a duet of a video, and it's by, I want you guys to look at it, Power Love 2285.
That her mom said I was fat and that I needed to lose weight.
Okay.
And doing the
So I follow her, Power Love 2285. So check it out, and I do edit her videos. So she talks a lot about the trauma of growing up as an overweight kid, a kid who was overweight. And, it really stays with her. I mean, she's made a lot of changes in her health, but that she has chosen, not because of society standards, but she carries that with her. I mean, it's trauma, right? Trauma is in the body. The body keeps a score. We know that from Bessel van der Kolk. Okay. So she talks about how her friend's parents bullied her, called her fat. Her friend's mom didn't want her to be friends with her, with Power Love 2285, because of the social capital, because she wanted her to, she believed she had such internal biases that it would limit her daughter's social capital if her friend was, and these are her words, if her friend was fat. And it was so traumatic. And she has all these shared experiences. I'm going to play it for you.
Math here, those moms were probably in their mid-30s.
Yeah.
But here's the other part of that conversation that she didn't tell me, though I know now, is that mom was secretly hoping that little girl would stop being my friend. Because she wanted her little girl to have the social capital, we've talked about this before, of being friends with all the pretty, tiny, little, limited 2 girls back in my time, right? It is so absolutely petty. The part of this conversation of growing up fat that we don't talk about enough is that adults that are not your family, that are not your parents, consistently comment on your body. Friends of parents, teachers, lunch ladies, school librarians, neighbors, unhinged women at the grocery store who tell your mom to stop beating you. The absolutely disgusting commentary around a child's body must end.
Yep.
Must end.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to do here, is we're going to call this out, and we're going to stop it. We're going to make people aware of how inappropriate that is. So where is this going to start? This is going to start with recognizing it, but this has to start with parents, first of all. And so parents need the tools and support and the coaching. So check out IME Community. I have tons of free stuff and share this with everyone. So I'm going to help coach you through all this, because when we don't recognize that our child is being bullied, and we don't recognize that it's not okay, because this has been going on forever. I mean, we live in this really dysfunctional, toxic diet culture, and we need to work to cancel diet culture. But in the meantime, really quickly, we can help our children and our teens by having their back, by knowing that they're not helpless, that it's not hopeless, that they're not powerless, that we aren't powerless as parents, that our past parenting self may have showed up as someone who wasn't our true self, who's not proud of how we've maybe made comments, or maybe we're worried or have fear and lack parenting, and we have really deeply embedded pursuit of thin privilege and fat phobia that then is going to go off to our kids. So it doesn't mean that if we have showed up in ways and made comments or been very fearful or even tried to get our kids, maybe to a diet that isn't helpful because we're really worried about it and we're worried that they aren't going to be as successful, reach their potential, have friends, all that's bunk. Okay? So it doesn't matter if that's your past parenting self. Your past self as a parent, as our past selves overall, is only our thoughts about ourselves. So we've got to start letting that go, and you're going to have to start dropping that like a book, okay? And you can start being intentional. So how do you want to show up as your future self parent today? Start embodying it. What are 3 guide words? What's your vision, okay? I create community with compassionate connection. That's my vision for my work. But as a parent, I want to work to show up as someone they can trust, as someone with compassion, and someone who's funny. Because I want to have fun with my kids. My kids are flipping hilarious. And so I want to have fun with them. But I want to be someone they trust so that they'll come to me, and I want to be someone who is a soft place to land. So be compassionate. And that's me. Like, those are 3 guide words as my parenting self that I know, like, I work to with intention and awareness. And so first of all, as parents, that's who I'm reaching here. Let your child know, like, that's not okay. If they say, like, somebody's mom doesn't want to play with them because I'm fat. Somebody makes a comment at the grocery store about your child's body. Somebody on social media. You need to work out and watch my... I did a podcast, but I also did a YouTube video, and I also did a blog on creating bully bans. So setting boundaries and practicing them so that they're really easily accessible. And say, I'm sorry. Don't say I'm sorry. See, we have that tendency, and I have that. It's ingrained. Say, it's not appropriate to comment on my child's body. And you don't have to say anything else. And the other thing I was thinking as I was listening to these or reading the comments on the video that I do edit, and now I have 56 comments. I watch these analytics a lot. And so people talk about, like, it's called PE in the President's Physical Fitness Test, is basically weight-based victimization, and we won't let it go because we're so fixated on it, and we want that data. And it's just it's a shaming activity. The pacer is what all my patients dreaded. That's what I posted, and they hated it. They hated the pacer. It's terrible. It's even worse when it's your own family, the people that are supposed to love you and accept you. And I said, so traumatic. Somebody said, like, grandparents, and it was terrible. And then they said, exactly, it feels like such a betrayal. Could you imagine your grandparents blaming and shaming you? I had strangers say something to me when I was young, my aunt's friends. This was 40 years ago. I still remember. Yeah, it stays with you. You're part of your DNA now. It doesn't mean you're stuck and you can't intentionally heal from it, but the first step is to recognize it's not okay, set boundaries, and then as a pediatrician, I'm telling you, we are mandatory reporters, so that means we report abuse. And commenting on a child's body, it seems inappropriate. It seems like somebody who's a real creepy person would do that. So let's check in on that. Is that your true self? And just because it's pervasive and everyone's doing it doesn't mean that it's freaking okay. All right? Because it's not. So the more we call it out, the more we have bully bans, and the more we report it and share these experiences, the more powerful our voice is going to be as a collective. And it just becomes a part of a social movement to where it's not okay. It's not okay. I'm a redhead, and some have told me blondes have more fun. You're going to have a hard time keeping up that color when you're an adult. Men don't like redheads. Oh yeah, my sister and I grew up with our dad constantly telling us we need to lose weight, and as we got older told us we won't be able to get a husband without losing weight. Yeah, that's just so... it needs to start with physician awareness. Okay, here we go. Doctors, listen up. My whole life, is what somebody said. Even if they don't vocalize, it's ingrained bias. All true. So true. But for me, it was my mom, grandmother, and aunt. My pediatrician did this to my daughter at age 4 after a well-child check. She was hitting herself in the stomach and crying. And what can I say? I'm so sorry, how traumatic. That's horrific. I'm struggling as an adult, learning trauma causes childhood obesity, and then bullying created even more trauma to punish me for having trauma. Wow, that's so powerful. And yep, I had a friend who told me their mom told them that they couldn't be friends with me anymore because I was fat. Terrible. So check in on that. Most people who listen to me and want to show up for their teens are gonna, they're already really loving, supportive parents, and they want to level up and really show up as your true parenting self. But I hope you share this with everyone you know, because it is so ingrained, this bias and this fat phobia and this projection of this fear and this diet culture that's so disgusting and unfun, that we need to all listen to this and share this. So, okay. Make sure you follow me on TikTok, and also get on my email subscription list and follow the blogs. And there's a lot of exciting stuff coming up, and I'm really helping to support parents and helping you to have these conversations with your teens, helping you to really show up to be helpful instead of feeling so helpless, hopeless, and powerless, or continuing to show up in a way that isn't your true parenting self, that's just based on your past parenting self that's ingrained in diet culture. Okay, we can all do better. Thanks for listening. Share. All right, have a great day. Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in to the IME Community Podcast, where self-love is your superpower. The content of this podcast represents the opinions of Dr. Carla Lester and is not intended as, and shall not be understood as, a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The opinions shared reflect the host and guest and do not represent an organization or medical group. Always seek the advice of your physician or therapist if you have concerns about your health. And please, like and subscribe to the IME Community Podcast. Share IME with your friends and go to imecommunity.com to join the member community. Don't forget to follow IME on social.